On a cool and overcast evening here at Wrigley Field, WGN Sports on My 50 brings you Chicago Cubs baseball. Cubs have won 7 in a row, and they host the San Diego Padres tonight. And welcome to Cubs baseball. Jim Deshaies and Len Kasper will start on time. The Cubs have already had 3 rainouts at home, day-nighter tomorrow, and this team is streaking. They're coming off a perfect week last week.
Yeah, it was a week that featured some pretty stout competition, too. A 3-game set in Pittsburgh and then a big 4-game series against the Washington Nationals, who were playing very good baseball when they came to town. But look at this, Ethel. 7-game winning streak, a perfect week, outscoring the opposition by 24 runs. Zobrist, the player of the week. Rizzo swinging it well. The pitching has been outstanding. Javi Baez with a heroic home run. All kinds of good things happening.
And JD doing his best Ray Stevens impersonation. Let's talk pitching tonight. John Lester for the Cubs, a right-hander, and a rookie, Cesar Vargas.
Yeah, Vargas, we don't know a whole lot about him, more of a finesse-type guy, but he's pitched very well in 3 starts so far for the Padres. You see his last time out against the Rockies, 6 innings of 1-run baseball. John Lester, scoreless baseball last time out. He's been very good, off to his best start ever through 6 starts.
Well, the Cubs will try to make it 8 in a row tonight, but everybody around town still talking about the big home run in the 13th inning that capped the Mother's Day Marathon. Deep left center! Game over! Cubs win! By Budweiser, not backing down since 1876. This Bud's for you. Honda, start something special with a great deal on a Honda, now at your Honda dealer. State Farm, combine your car and home insurance with State Farm and start saving. Call your State Farm agent today or find one at statefarm.com. Mattress Firm, where we want you to sleep happy guaranteed. Remember, if it's over 8, it's time to replace. Your Chicago area and Northwest Indiana Lexus dealer. And by Southwest Airlines. Transparency, low fares, nothing to hide. Chicago Cubs baseball in beautiful high definition is brought to you by Xfinity. Xfinity X1 will change the way you experience TV. Let's get Andy Green's Padres starting lineup. They're 13-19, last in the West, but only 3 games out of first. Jay, Myers, and Kemp will start it. Matt Kemp has always hit well here at Wrigley Field going back to his Dodger days. Norris, Upton, Wallace in the middle. Jose Perella recently called up. They've got a lot of injuries on their infield. Alexei Ramirez is back in town now with the Padres, and Vargas, the pitcher, bats ninth.
Cubs defensively, Chris Bryant, after a couple starts at third, back in the outfield. He's in left. Fowler in center. Jason Hayward made a run-saving catch on Sunday out in right field. Javi Baez and Ben Zobrist have played errorless baseball so far this year. Russell and Rizzo joined them on the infield. David Ross is behind the plate this evening, and our Blue Cross Blue Shield starting pitcher is Big John Lester. Choose Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Illinois, the card to carry through it all. You see 6 starts, a 1.58 ERA, second in the league, trailing only Jake Arrieta. 3-1, the league hitting .228 against the big guy, 32 years of age. 0-1 in 2 career starts against the Padres. He pitched against them last year, allowed 3 runs in 5 1/3 innings.
Your umpires for tonight: Andy Fletcher back of the plate, Toby Basner at first, Joe West, the crew chief, at second, Kerwin Danley is at third. Cubs 24-6. Half their losses have come against the West. 1 to the Diamondbacks, 2 to the Rockies, 4-3 so far versus the NL West. An 8-game lead over the Pirates in the NL Central.
Yeah, a blistering pace they have set, on pace to win 129 games. That would be the most ever. Modern record is 116 wins. That was Seattle a few years back.
And the Cubs way back when.
And the way back when. Yeah.
Here is the former Cardinal John Jay to start it. Lefty versus lefty, and the series finally underway. About 24 hours after we had tried to start it. Got rained out. Game was canceled about 10 after 7 last night. It's really a pretty dreary forecast, and it rained a lot of today as well.
So San Diego traveling party probably saw more rain here in the last couple of days than they'll see the entire calendar year out in San Diego.
On the outside corner, it's 1-2, 54 degrees, wind not much of a factor out of the east. 3 miles an hour, and there is a chance of rain. We'll try to play through it. So tomorrow, split twin bill, 12:05, 7:05. Tickets from last night's game will be only honored for tomorrow's early game. That's the noon start, with no ticket exchanges necessary. So make sure you hang on to your ticket from last night. The gates will open at 11 a.m. And again, separate tickets are required for each game. 5:35, the gates will open for game 2. Tickets are available for both games. Cubs.com. Ground ball to second. Ben Zobrist, reigning co-NL Player of the Week, along with Bartolo Colon. 1 out. JD, the Padres, they haven't scored a ton. 13th in the league in runs. They strike out a lot, most in the National League.
Yeah, they don't work a lot of walks. Pitching's been pretty good. Their starting pitching has been pretty good. Split a 4-game set with the Mets over the weekend. They're 6-4 over their last 10. There's not a lot of firepower in this lineup. This guy is dangerous, as is the man on deck, Matt Kemp.
Myers pops it foul. The dugout lost the handle on the bat in the process.
And a lot of turnover on this roster in the last year or so. A.J. Preller, the general manager, very active 2 off seasons ago as they were kind of in go for it mode, and then that didn't really work out, so he started to dump some veteran guys to add prospects to the minor league system. They got a new manager there. He saw Andy Green in the corner of the dugout.
What we got going with Mr. Myers? Got his fingers taped.
Yeah, he doesn't like to wear gloves, right? I remember that from last year. But Maybe battling some blisters, or maybe just styling a little bit.
Drills one foul to left. Joe familiar with a couple of the starting Padres tonight, Myers and Melvin Upton. He was known as a BJ when he was in Tampa Bay with Joe.
Myers was Rookie of the Year, was he not?
He was. Battled some wrist problems the last couple of seasons, and he stays alive. Lester has not allowed more than one run in each of his last 4 starts.
Yeah, I mean, he had that one start where he allowed 3. That was in 6 innings, and then he's had 4 starts where he's allowed 1 run, and last time out he pitched scoreless ball for 5 2/3.
He's also got a 2-start streak during which he has gotten out of a bases loaded, no outs situation. He'd prefer not to have to deal with that tonight. Two and two. Matt Kemp is on deck.
Myers started his career as a catcher. He moved to the outfield. The Padres played him in the outfield last year. Now he's playing first base. Always reminded me a little bit of Dale Murphy. Big raw bone guy, broad shoulders. Former catching thing that matches as well.
Close didn't get it. 3 and 2. Yeah, came up with the Royals. Moved down to the Rays. Now the Padres.
Still only 25 years old.
So Lester working pretty hard here in the opening inning. You're right. This is a much different Padres team than the one we saw last year. 3 different managers last year. Bud Black, Dave Roberts, Pat Murphy. Said goodbye to Craig Kimbrell, Joaquin Benoit, Jed Jerko, Justin Upton. Left via free agency. So did Ian Kennedy. And a deep drive to center. Fowler is back to the warning track, and he has just enough real estate for the second out. Lester had to work very hard to get Myers.
And a pretty good lash there by Myers. Hit that ball sharply. Maybe down a little bit towards the end of the bat. Always a comforting feeling for a pitcher when you turn around and you see your outfielder go into backpedal mode. As long as his eyes are still looking up. If he's backpedaling and he's dropped his head, then you know it's bad news.
Well, Kemp signed through 2019 on a deal he inked with the Dodgers prior to 2012. They traded him to San Diego prior to last year in a deal that also involved Tim Fedorovich. He's now a Cub.
Last year, a big chunk of his salary was still being paid by the Dodgers. That's no longer the case. Signed through 2019, averaging $21.5 million per.
Each team can add a player to their roster tomorrow for the doubleheader. So we've got about 27 innings or more of baseball here these next 27 hours or so.
People can binge watch us. Binge watch Cubs baseball.
And that's what a lot of Cub fans want to do right now. He did not go. It's 2 and 2.
Yeah, and that going is what he has done a lot of this year. He's among the league leaders in chase percentage, swinging at pitches outside of the strike zone. Also hitting the ball in the air a lot more than he has in the past. If you look at those numbers, you would think, well, Kemp's approach this year is to be very aggressive and try to lift the ball and drive the ball out of the ballpark. High fly ball rate, high chase rate. Very low walk rate.
Able to stay alive. See the patch on the left sleeve of the Padres uniforms. They will host this year's All-Star game. There's that patch, and they've incorporated gold into their uniforms as a result. Thought I saw somewhere that these uniforms, it's the first time ever a team has literally changed its uniform for a season based on hosting the All-Star.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, he's done some damage here over the years. His last 6 games, 3 long balls, a .440 batting average, OPS up over 1,200, but the 4th highest slugging percentage in this ballpark among all active players.
We've had a lot of different uniform combinations in the history of the Padres. We've got a Friday home brown and yellow combo. Got a camo jersey that I think they've tweaked, but something they have worn in the past to honor the military.
Yeah, Sundays are Military Appreciation Day out there.
Fowler in, and he makes the catch, and that will end the inning for Lester. Cubs coming up. Starting lineup, they have a 4.11 team OBP to lead off an inning, which is off the charts. Dexter Fowler leads off the first. Hayward, Bryant, Rizzo, and Zobrist. Javier Baez with his first career game-ending homer on Sunday. Addison Russell at short. David Ross, as per usual, catching for John Lester.
Where are the Padres defensively? Melvin Upton Jr., John Jay, Matt Kemp in the outfield. Wallace, Ramirez, Perello, Myers, third to first. Derek Norris solid behind the plate. And Cesar Vargas, the rookie right-hander on the mound. 24 years of age. He's made 3 big league starts. Still looking for his first win, but he's pitched outstanding ball so far. 110 ERA, 228 opponent batting average. He starts the first he has made above Class A. He last couple of years been working out of the bullpen in the Yankee organization.
Puebla, Mexico. And ball 1 to Dexter Fowler. On Sunday, reached base 3 times for the 11th time this season.
He's been an on-base machine.
2-0. Padres shift to the right on the infield against Fowler.
Yeah, I don't know if many clubs do this against Dexter.
Shortstop Ramirez basically playing third. They've got the third baseman Wallace over on the other side. Perella deep in the hole, and then Myers at first.
We see a lot of cut fastballs from Vargas. He'll go 88 to 91 in terms of velocity. Slider, curve, and a change.
Pulled to right, and it's foul.
Andy Green was coached with the Diamondbacks last year. He managed in the D-backs organization for a few years. And he was in charge of the defense for the Diamondbacks last year, and they really upped their shifting last season. And seeing it here with the Padres as well.
Swing and a miss. He got him. So Vargas strikes out Fowler, and it'll bring up Jason Hayward. The Padres dealing with some injuries I mentioned on their infield, but their opening day starter, Tyson Ross, is on the DL. He's got a shoulder issue. Andrew Cashner left early Sunday with some hamstring cramping, but I guess he's going to be fine to make his next start. Lefty Robbie Erlin having Tommy John surgery after just 2 starts. So ball club kind of outmanned to start, and they're dealing with those issues. They're down to basically their 4th string second baseman right now. 1 strike on Hayward. Swing and a miss, and a good curve. There's the former Cub, Andrew Cashner. He had an adventurous run around the bases the other day. Head first slide into home and tweaked his hammies. In the dirt, Hayward laid down a sac bunt in the 7th on Sunday that was followed up by the game-tying 2-run single from Chris Bryant, and then his last 2 at-bats he had singles.
It's been a real tough go for Jason here in the early going, and maybe that his 2 hits, final 2 times up, can get him going a little bit.
Line shot's going to hold up for the center fielder Jay. Good contact. Bad result. Well, if you believe in the process and not the outcomes, I guess theoretically you'd rather do that than bust your bat and have a little blooper fall. But in reality, guys would rather have hits.
Yeah. As they say in basketball, you want to see it go through the hoop.
Steph Curry just hit another 3, by the way.
Oh. It's pretty good, huh? Unanimous MVP. First time ever.
1 strike on Chris Bryant. University of San Diego product. Really hot lately. 13 runs knocked in, 14 scored his last 14 games. 1-2.
Yeah, taking his walks, making a lot of solid contact. Strikeout rate is down. more impressive home runs we've seen this year through the wind the other day, 420 some feet, and about a 3-club wind. Imagine that, a full count on Kris Bryant.
Vargas does not have the same leg kick as Jake Arrieta, but he kind of starts the same way Jake does. Almost in the stretch position. A little step back and throw. Another ball hit well, but this one run down by Kemp. A couple of really hard hit balls in the first. To manage the game along with Joe, log on to WGNTV.com right now. Click on the WGN Sports Game Zone banner. Connect to all the up-to-the-minute stats and info while watching at home. Game Zone sponsored by The Great Escape. Pools, patio furniture, hot tubs, and more. Everything you need to have more fun at home this summer. Strike called on Derek Norris. He's hitting in the cleanup spot, off to a terribly slow start. His OPS 499. That ranks 186 out of 189 major league qualifiers. The guy who's number one, the guy who's number one is batting ninth tonight. That's deep center. And Fowler will grab this one on the track. Aledmys Diaz is leading the majors in OPS, and he's batting ninth for the Cardinals later.
Why is he batting ninth?
I don't know. They're playing in an American League park.
Nonetheless.
That is not a question for me to answer. I just give you the facts.
Yeah, just the facts, man. Well, Norris is a pretty good hitter, obviously, after a terribly slow start. And that's always a challenge for a manager when you pull the plug and start to shake things up. You don't want to rattle a guy's confidence. There's always a fear, especially for a new manager like Andy Green, of the veteran players accusing him of panicking if he starts to monkey with that lineup.
1-1. Melvin Upton Jr. prior to last year said he would like to go by his birth name, which is Melvin Jr., not BJ, which used to be called. His brother Justin is now with Detroit. Popped it in the air to right. Hayward's got it.
Cub fans, don't wait. Plan now. Get tickets to the matchups you want to see before they are gone. Tickets are still available for both ends of tomorrow's day-night doubleheader. Get your tickets now at Cubs.com. Come on out. Spend a day at the ballpark.
We'll bring up Brett Wallace. He was not in last night's lineup. The pitching matchup is the same. Lester and Vargas, but over the last day, I guess Andy Green had some second thoughts about Adam Rosales. And it's Wallace instead. And he takes a strike.
Wallace has only had one plate appearance against left-handed pitching so far this year.
And Hervé Solarte is on the disabled list. He's got a strained hamstring. Well, ball's in the air with Lester on the mound. 5 out of 6 in the air to start it. Cool tonight, but dry. January 2012, one of the first moves Cubs made under Theo Epstein was to send Andrew Cashner to the Padres for Anthony Rizzo. I know the Cubs are thrilled. Here's Rizzo at the plate with a batting average that's 9 points higher than it was a few hours ago because of a scoring change. Outside ball one. May 4th, the bullet he hit to center in Pittsburgh. Originally, Andrew McCutchen was charged with an error. They have changed that to a single. So he ended up 4 for 5 in that ball game. It added 3 earned runs to Juan Nicasio's record.
And even Clint Hurdle, the manager of the Pirates, thought it should have been ruled a hit, even though it ends up costing his pitcher 3 earnings.
Myers will pick it up. Cub fans, don't forget to check out Len and JD's baseball blog at WGNTV.com. Sponsored by Jeff Vukovich, your nationwide insurance agent serving the area for 38 years. To join the nation, contact Jeff at jeffvuk.com. Nationwide is on your side.
Now you know you're going good when you get rained out and your batting average goes up.
Yeah.
Pretty good deal. You see him run up 9 points?
270 to 279.
How does that happen?
It's early.
No, but one hit.
It's a hit without adding an at bat. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
So instead of 30 for 111, I mean 111 at bats. I mean every at bat's worth about 10 points, right? 9 or 10 points. We give him 31 instead of 30. It's math.
I know. You got to trust the numbers. You really do. You got to believe in the math. This guy he put up some serious math last week.
Co-player of the week as he knocked in 15 runs in 7 games. Forecast kept changing. Thought it might be raining right now, but instead the sun is hitting the buildings off to the north and east of the ballpark. Zobrist lines over Pirela and into right. That's the first hit of the ball game.
Some pretty good swings from both sides. This is the first one to fall in. More good math for Zobrist. So his batting average just went up probably 8 or 9 points.
I'll tell you in a second.
Vargas appears to be the kind of pitcher that can work up in the zone, but he's got to make sure he gets it in on the hands a little bit. Elevated out over the plate, and he's going to give up some damage. He went up 7 there, 7 points.
277 and 284. By the way, Rizzo's down to 268.
It's like following the stock market.
Javier Baez bunts. It's a beauty. Vargas will throw. No chance. Bunt hit for Baez.
Fun to watch this kid play. He's so dynamic. He's got the power. He can get the ball out on the street for you, but he can also do this. Just a sweetheart of a bunt. Can't do it any better than that. And Vargas made a heck of a play on it, but Baez with the speed able to beat it.
Two on with 1 out. Here's Addison Russell. He's got 7 hits his last 4 games. He fouls away. Time for our Lexus Run Predictor, brought to you by your Chicago area, Northwest Indiana Lexus dealer. First and second, 1 out. Cubs offense better than league average in terms of getting at least 1 in this spot. One and 1. By the way, we mentioned Andrew Cashner. He is not scheduled to pitch in this series. Colin Ray and Kyle Hendricks in game 1 tomorrow. Lefty Drew Pomerantz and John Lackey in the night game. Right field, and that's going to get the job done. Might score a couple. Here comes Zobrist. Baez is going to be held. And now Russell, for some reason, took off for third. And the throw out there. Baez holds at third.
Addison Russell claiming that he was safe. Joe West making the call at second base. We'll see if the Cubs decide to challenge. A little brain cramp there for Addy as he thought that Baez was being waived.
It is 1-0 as Zobrist scores.
More solid contact. Cubs getting some real good swings here on young Vargas. I think Addy just kind of lost track of who was where in this situation. That's a bad feeling. You slide in, look up, and you see your teammate standing there.
Yeah, it looked like he got him. Cubs are still waiting to make sure, though.
He's lucky he didn't get his ankle really banged up there. They probably didn't get a good enough look at it.
You know what?
And the Joe West out there at second base.
You know, we had one yesterday in Miami. JT Realmuto hit a home run, and he passed Marcell Ozuna at first base. So it took a home run off the board. Russell looked like he slid past third base. I don't want to make you get out the rule book, but there's Ross. That's high.
Yeah, but in that instance, Ozuna had come back to the base and Realmuto rounded the base.
Right, so I don't know how they would rule that. If you hit the bag and slide past it, and there's another guy on the bag. It's moot now because he was out anyway. But watch, he's past third base and Javi's standing on it. Is that considered passing the runner?
I don't think that would be considered because he didn't make any advancement to the next base.
Gotcha.
Would be my best guess.
I'm with you. Three and one on Ross. Lester is on deck.
Unfortunately, there's no such thing as a second base coach. I'm one at first and third, but I can't station anybody out there at second.
Ross draws the walk.
Yeah, and he's been doing a fair bit of that this year too. His walkout and strike rate about identical. So I think he's benefiting from the extra playing time, finding a little more rhythm at the plate. Big swing, big fella. Turn it loose. Ooh, they are not treating John with the respect he is due. Really shallow in the outfield. He's certainly capable of driving over their heads out there. I've seen John Jay for a number of years in St. Louis. He always plays a shallow center field. With 2 outs here, I'm sure what the Padres are thinking, well, he's more likely to dump one in front of us than he is to hit it over our heads. But if he does the latter, he might score Rossi from first as well.
Two and one.
That would be ladder, L-A-T-T-E-R, not ladder. People are probably thinking, is there a baseball term, doing the ladder? What does that mean? Sort of climbing the ladder, right?
The pitch. Pass to second. Pirela will flip to Ramirez at the bag. Cubs get one on the RBI double from Russell, 1-0. Time for the Subway third inning triple play promotion. Text Subway 3 to 97999. Right now, the 300th texter will get a $30 gift card to a Subway restaurant in the Chicagoland area. Subway, fresh is what we do. Zobrist got the first hit. 2 batters later, Addison Russell knocked him in. To score the play, the Russell play 9-2, 4-5, 6 to get him at second. Jose Pirela playing second base. A bunch of infielders are out. I mentioned Solarte, Corey Spangenberg, Alexi Amarista, Jamiel Weeks, all on the DL. He was brought up a couple of days ago. Second stint on the big league roster.
Big league time with the Yankees last year, as well as 2014. Utility type guy, could play all over the infield. .325 at AAA last year. At 74 at bats with the Yankees, batted .230 with 1 long ball.
Well, bat is fair. The ball is foul.
Long stride and shattered. With that cutter, boy, that's when he's on. That cutter in on the hands of the right-handed hitters will induce a lot of weak contact.
Shadubi. Popped up. Awkward cut there with 2 strikes. Rizzo races in to grab it. The best 6-game start of his career in terms of his earned run average.
Yeah, could easily be undefeated.
Yep. Alexei Ramirez, 8 years with the White Sox, signed with the Pods in January. And if he has gained 1 pound since he was a rookie, I don't know where he's hiding it. Silver Slugger awards with the Sox, an All-Star 2 years ago.
And he's seen a fair bit of John Lester over the years. He's 9 out of 38 against him with a .237 batting average.
Hard and foul past Glenn Hoffman, longtime third base coach.
Check in on the breakdown of John Lester so far here tonight. Likes to throw that cut fastball, as you know, so he's leaning heavily on that. Yeah, this is atypical. A lot of outs in the air so far.
Joe has talked about liking this defensive alignment with Bryant in left and Baez at third. A lot of action on the left side of the infield. Typically when Lester pitches. No action as of yet at the hot corner.
Whether the Cubs are home or on the road, guided tours of legendary Wrigley Field are available. Tours may include visits to the press box, clubhouses, dugouts, as well as a chance to actually step on the field. This must-see Chicago attraction houses over 100 years of history. Book your tour at Cubs.com/tours today.
Ball 4. First base runner for the Padres.
Well, we're going to find out if Mr. Vargas can get a bunt down. Javi Baez very aggressive coming in from third base. Rizzo always plays this aggressively as well. Padres may allow Vargas to pull the bat back and take a whack at one.
They have the greatest pitching matchup in the history of baseball tonight in Seattle. Rays and the Mariners. Drew Smiley and Wade Miley.
Smiley and Miley.
Yes. Both lefties to boot. Too bad Mark Wiley isn't one of their pitching coaches.
Yeah, there's an Abbott Costello thing in there. The Wiley veteran. You mean Smiley? You mean Wiley? No, Smiley. He's Wiley. He's a veteran.
Mike Riley could behind the plate. Gets past Ross.
Let him off the hook.
There's your bunt.
Didn't look like Vargas very comfortable in there. Was not likely to get the bunt down successfully. Doesn't much matter now. Ross was contemplating a pickoff or something. He was coming up out of his crouch. No, the ball did bounce.
Yeah, it's going to be a wild pitch.
But
it's called a pass ball, but he'll change it. Bob Rosenberg. Right on cue. Wild pitch. 2-2. Called strike 3. So 2 outs. It'll bring up Jay, and we'd love to get your Cubs selfies. Hashtag WGN Cubs on Twitter. We may use them in our fan cam segment a little later.
I don't understand that. I've seen that before. Once the guy gets to second base, he's already 1 out in the inning. I don't care how bad a hitter he is. Why bunt it? Why even show bunt? Might as well take a whack.
So yesterday would have been the 56th birthday of the late Tony Gwynn, Hall of Famer, Mr. Padre, and John Jay idolized Tony growing up, and those are the socks he wears every day. I think he's got several pairs of them, but pretty cool way to honor Tony Gwynn. That is going to be out of play. Jay did wear 19 for a time in St. Louis. Can't wear it with the Padres because that number has been retired.
Wow, what a player. Gone too soon, obviously. 16-time All-Star, 8 times a batting champion, flirted with 400. He was as tough and out as there was in the game. An outstanding basketball player at San Diego State as well. And that's where he returned to coach Coached the baseball team after his playing days with the Padres were over.
Kerwin Danley working the game tonight. Was his teammate, San Diego State, on the baseball team.
Buddy Black, Mark Grace. Had a great program there for a number of years. Jim Dietz was a longtime head coach at San Diego State.
Jay just got hit. And will make his way to first.
Myers has had the best swing for the Padres here tonight. Deep drive to center field. First time up in the top half of the first.
Throw to second. It is the toughest of throws. It's the longest to a base for a catcher. But the reason you try it is because those guys at second, they get a pretty big lead with 2 outs. They have a shot to score on a base hit.
Yeah, and especially if you've got a situation where you got a hitter up who you're not that concerned about hitting a ground ball to the right side of the infield, so that frees up the second baseman to move in behind the base runner there.
Turned into a lovely night on May 10th. Under the lights at Wrigley Field. Two and one to Myers. Could not hold. That could be a big swing pitch. Instead of 3-1, it's 2-2.
He's get a little greedy with the runner in scoring position.
Strike 3 called, and the inning is over. A walk and a hit batter, but no runs. Your team pride with Cubs checking and an official Cubs MasterCard debit card only available at your local Wintrust Community Bank. Go to wintrust.com/Cubs to learn more. Remember FDIC. 1-0 Cubs lead. They bat in the third. Fowler, Hayward, Bryant went down in order in the first. Fowler struck out. Hayward and Bryant both lined out hard to the outfield against Vargas, who's making his Wrigley Field debut. Looking for his first major league win. Just his fourth start. And a base hit. How about that? Dexter Fowler leading off an inning and reaching base.
Yeah. That was a shocker.
Here's Hayward. Well, that easy bunt single is staring at him down the third base line. Well, I say easy. It's relatively speaking. The Padres are not covering it at all.
Yeah,
that would be tempting.
Yeah,
wouldn't it?
Absolutely. With Bryant, Rizzo, and Zobrist coming up behind him.
I've never asked, and I'm guessing I know what the answer would be from a batter. And we see so much of this defensive shifting these days, it's probably no big deal. But does that feel a little weird for a hitter to see that much space on one side of the infield?
And I was reading an article today that Andy Green was quoted in, and I've heard it from other managers too. Sometimes the shift, obviously the primary goal of the shift is to cover where the guy hits the ball, but there's a psychological component too, where they get in the hitter's head a little bit, give him something else to think about as he stands in there and gets ready for the at bat. I mean, should I try to bunt? Should I try to change my approach to shoot it the other way? He starts thinking a little bit, and you get a little paralysis by analysis, and the next thing you know, you're looking at strike three.
1-1.
It almost has to be premeditated, where if they do it one time, you say to yourself after the at-bat, well, next time if they're playing that way again, I'm going to try to push a bunt over there. And again, the other part of it is, I think a lot of folks think it's real easy to just square around and push a bunt down there, but if guys aren't used to doing it, aren't practiced at it, it's not as easy. You foul it off, you're behind in the count.
Well, there you go. It's a ground ball into left. So I can tell you right now, he rarely does that, because if he did it a lot, they would not have been in the positions they were.
Just lets that ball get deep.
And that's what he was not doing the other day. A lot of those pitches up and maybe a little out. He was rolling over to right.
To roll over that top hand. And, when you see this hits by direction, a lot of times, it's outfield, because you look at those numbers, you go, well, they shouldn't shift for him, because he does hit the ball to center and he hits it to the left. But a lot of times that's in the air. The reason why the shift is because the guy's ground ball tendencies are almost always pull.
You cannot overshift against Bryant because of the two base runners. And he swings and misses.
Not the extreme shift, but playing strong pull on the infield with Pirela fairly close to the bag there, and Myers way off the line at first. Ramirez not playing typical double play depth. He's more in the hole, step or two to pull.
Check out the Lexus run predictor with no outs. I would imagine it's pretty good, and it is. Cubs get at least one 2/3 of the time in this spot.
Well, they've had real good swings against Vargas here tonight. Could see some damage coming here pretty soon.
2-1. Field corner. Fowler will score. Hayward will be sent by Gary Jones, and he's in. 3-0. 2-run double for Bryant.
Tough assignment for this kid in his 4th major league start here at Wrigley Field against his Cubs lineup. They've got him backed into the corner right now, measuring him and getting very good swings. Again, trying to throw that ball out away from Bryant. It backs up on him. Sits middle in up a little bit.
So 3-0 and still nobody out. 3 consecutive hits. Rizzo swings and misses. Came in with a 21-game on-base streak. That's the top active on-base streak in the National League. You know, going back to the Cashner for Rizzo trade, you had a lot of factors at play at that time. Obviously, Theo and Jed were very familiar with Anthony. Thought he could be a building block, or at the time, a rebuilding team. If they could fit their philosophy of position players being less risky. You look at the long haul than pitchers. There was never any doubt about Andrew Cashner's talent. And to get Anthony Rizzo, you had to give up something pretty good. That deflected off the pitching hand of Vargas. Fielded by Ramirez, and he'll throw to first. Vargas appears to be okay. Might be shaking that hand a little bit. And his catcher's out to make sure he's all right. Well, that's dangerous.
Yeah. Nothing good is going to come of that.
He's already given up more tonight in his first 3 starts.
Padres pull the infield in.
Ball 1 on Zobrist. Vargas signed with the Yankees in 09. Became a free agent following 2014. Signed with the Pods. And here he is in the big leagues. Prior to this year, I should say.
He's the 8th Mexican-born pitcher to start a game for the Padres. Slight resemblance to his countryman Giovanni Gallardo. Reminds me of Gallardo a little bit facially. little Gallardo going on there?
That's why he's got the beard.
That's all you're going to give me?
That's the Gallardo facial hair. Yeah.
He's got 2 eyes.
Base hit right field, 4-0. Zobrist is 2 for 2.
Pulling that infield in, it's like taking candy from a baby for Zobrist right now. Just a couple behind Anthony Rizzo in the RBI department.
Darren Balsley, the pitching coach, will make a visit. Hey, I got a good question on Twitter regarding the retired flags on the foul poles.
Yeah.
And the question was, why are they in the order they're in? I don't know the specific answer, but I'm going to take a guess. So the question was, why is it Banks, Sano, Jenkins, and left? And I think it's because Ernie's was retired first. So they start at the top and go down. So you've got Ronnie and Fergie, and then you've got Williams, Sandberg, and Maddox top to bottom in right. Would that seem logical to you?
Uh-huh.
All right, we're going to go with that then. But good question. And the Rhino flag came into play recently on an Anthony Rizzo home run. Something I had never seen before. Baez into the left field corner. Zobrist on his way to third. The throw goes there. It's late. It's a double for Baez.
The throw probably should have went into second base. I don't know if they would have been able to hold Baez to a single or not. By the time Upton got over that ball, he was in fairly deep left field and fairly close to the line. Baez likely would have ended up at second base anyway, but I think it's the proper throw. This is changeup. It's your Xfinity speed replay as the Cubs continue to bang away here at Young Vargas. The speed replay is brought to you by Xfinity. Xfinity X1 will change the way you experience TV. Yeah, Andy Green in a bit of a predicament here. He's got his rookie right-hander making his 4th big league start. Cubs are all over him here. Got a doubleheader tomorrow, so you know how hard do you want to ride that bullpen here tonight?
Russell will be intentionally walked with Ross on deck.
I suspect as soon as ball 4 is thrown here, Derek Norris is going to run out and talk to Vargas to make sure they've got a plan with Ross. I'm wrong. He's not. Alexis Ramirez in from the shortstop position. This would be a good time. I'm not a big fan of the catchers always trotting out there, but this would be a good time for Norris to have a chat with Vargas just to make sure he doesn't throw a cookie right down the middle here to David Ross, who likes to ambush that first pitch fastball. Started with a breaking pitch.
Two and 0. balls, no strikes. Last thing a manager wants after an intentional hawk to load the bases is to see his pitcher go 3-0 on the next hitter.
And that's the challenge. You know, and again, there's no easy decision. He's hoping he can get out of this with a double play ball. But you got a guy making his 4th big league start. You could see why he would be pitching away from contact right now.
3-1. Ross very briefly a Padre, 2005. Among his travels. And he asks for time. Deep to right, Kemp is back on it, and he makes a nice grab as he bangs into the bricks. Zobrist tags and scores. 5-0 on a sac fly by David Ross.
There's one good at bat after another here for the Cubs. Ross almost cleared the bases. But Kemp able to run it down. Kemp does not get high marks for his outfield play, but a nice running catch here to take away extra bases.
Baez advanced to 3rd as well. So a 4-run inning. Here's the 9th Cub to bat, John Lester. Upton and left to end the inning. A 4-run 3rd. 5-0.
Cubs have 5. The Padres don't have any. The Cubs offer special programs designed for your future Cub, from Kids Sundays at Wrigley Field to Clark's Crew and baseball summer camps throughout the Chicago area. There are many ways to build lifelong Cub memories with your kids. Visit Cubs.com/kids to learn all about our Cubs Kids offerings.
Big 3rd inning. Chris Bryant knocked in 2 with a double. Zobrist and Ross also had RBIs.
And just think about the outs in this game. 2 lineouts in the first inning. Russell got caught with a base running mistake. David Ross sack fly, almost a bases clearing double. I mean, the Cubs have been all over this kid.
Padres without a hit, even though they've made Lester make over 60 pitches before he has recorded an out here in the 4th. Backhanded Baez just into foul territory, and a strong throw to get Kemp.
Lester went 1-2-3 in the first, but had to work hard. Second inning pretty efficient, worked hard in the third with the walk and hit batsman. So he needs what Bosio refers to as a Hines inning, like the catch up, as in catch up to normal pace, trying to get 14, 15 pitches per inning.
Here's Norris. The Padres had a bizarre first week, didn't they? Offensively, they were swept at home by the Dodgers. They did not score a run in the 3-game series. Set a major league record, 27 consecutive scoreless innings to begin a season. They were outscored 25-0. It's one where you're a new manager. You got to sit in that room and tell the media, we got 159 to go. We're going to be fine.
Good. Don't panic.
But everybody around them probably was. Then they went to Colorado and set a team record with 29 runs in 2 games. What a weird game this is.
Yeah, well, thank goodness for Coors Field, right? They've been shut out 8 times already this year.
We have 2 teams in the same division. The storyline or the narrative every year seems to be the same, right? It's the Rockies scoring tons of runs at home, high ERA. Padres pitch, can't score runs. Because of their ballparks and environment in terms of runs scoring. Move the fences in at Petco.
But the National League West is kind of a funky division that way. Coors Field, the best hitters park in all of baseball, and the ballpark in Arizona, a great hitters park. The Dodger Stadium is a pitcher's park. The Giants' home ballpark is a pitcher's park. Petco certainly a pitcher's park.
On Upton. He's had a weird career, hasn't he? Played a ton in Tampa Bay, some good seasons, power, speed, patience. And he signed a 5-year deal worth over $72 million with Atlanta prior to 2013. His numbers fell off the face of the earth. And then eventually got traded here to San Diego in the Craig Kimbrell deal.
Well, he was certainly a guy who needed a change of scenery. He was playing alongside his brother there in Atlanta for a while and was not performing. And at times when we saw him, it was like he looked helpless at the plate, just swinging and missing at everything.
A bounce back last year in 87 games, and he hits this one to deep left, and it's gone. A home run for Melvin Upton Jr. to get the Padres on the hit and the run board. It's 5-1.
His 3rd home run of the year, 5th allowed by John Lester. John likes to throw that cutter down towards the back foot, or he likes to backdoor it. That time it kind of stayed, it was down, but middle of the plate.
Upton's third career homer off Lester and over 60 at bats. Battled each other a lot, Boston and Tampa Bay. Wallace bounces to shallow right. Zobrist throws him out. It's now 5-1 midway in the fourth. Upcoming schedule. Off day on Thursday after 2 tomorrow. Then the Pirates come in. Then another off day Monday. It kind of feels like with these rainouts we're going to play like 100 days in a row. It's not quite the case, but with rainouts and off days early, it's going to be a packed second half for sure. Brought to you by Ford, inviting you to visit your local Ford store or localfordstores.com.
That's the way we like it, Len. Embrace the grind. There you can have that put on your T-shirt. Sell that to Joe.
Oh, he's in. It's a phrase Joe likes. Put it on a T-shirt. To give you a little insight into the mind of Joe Maddon, kind of how he rolls. We were rained out yesterday, but thought we were going to at least try to play. You and I and Ron Coomer usually head into Joe's office around 4 o'clock before a 7 o'clock game. It was before you got in there. And he's got this like surround sound system, his iPad and the whole deal. He'll crank the music. It's always a different genre. Yesterday, it was all the versions of If I Were a Carpenter. Remember that song?
Oh, yeah, sure.
So it was the Four Tops. He said, what about the Johnny Cash version? He said, it's coming next. We listened to that. Then we got to the Bobby Darin version. We were kind of ranking our favorite versions of that song. This is a big league manager 3 hours before a game.
I didn't know there were that many versions of that song.
Yes, there are. You just never know what you're going to get, and that's what I love about it.
Joe is like a box of chocolates.
Yes. Guys in the truck asked if the Carpenters ever recorded that song. I don't remember it, but it doesn't mean it didn't happen.
Is there a definitive version of that song?
Well, for me, it's Bobby Darin. Got Springs.
Probably more of the Johnny Cash.
Johnny and June Carter
yeah.
Cash. It's great. But I'm partial to the Bobby Darin. Parella, and they'll get the out at second.
See, Steven Strasburg signed a nice contract, 7-year, 175, something like that.
Yes.
So that takes
got an opt-out, right?
Takes a big arm off the free agent market.
Bounced foul by Bryant. Miguel Montero has started a rehab assignment with AAA Iowa. He's in their lineup tonight. Maybe by the weekend he could be back on the active roster. See how it goes in Iowa. Bryce Harper got ejected last night just before Clint Robinson hit the game-ending home run to beat Detroit. One and one on Bryant.
Yeah, and then he got into it with the umpire when he went out to celebrate at home plate, and apparently Major League Baseball is reviewing that confrontation. So much a confrontation is Harper just having a few choice words. I suspect there'll be a pretty good fine.
Devin Mesoraco's done for the year. Surgery on his left shoulder today, and the damage pretty bad. To third, fair ball over the bag. Wallace throws out Bryant. Hayward now at second. 2 outs in the inning for Anthony Rizzo. 50-game suspension for Raul Mondesi of the Kansas City Royals. Michael Bourne has agreed to a minor league deal with the Diamondbacks.
Yeah, and he had he was released by the Braves, signed by the Jays to a minor league deal, and released from that, I believe.
Toronto.
Yeah.
He was down in Dunedin. Angels have acquired Brendan Ryan from the Nationals. He was playing at AAA as they needed some reinforcements because of Andrelton Simmons' thumb injury. He'll be out 2 months.
Yeah, the Angels, man, a lot of bad news coming out of that camp in the last couple of weeks.
One and one to Rizzo. We're now getting votes via Twitter on versions of If I Were a Carpenter. Bob Seger did one. Robert Plant, Waylon Jennings. Wow. I think there's like an album of just that song. Four Tops version is really good.
But like Joan Baez, did she do it?
Maybe.
So to me, it's got to be a folky sound. By the way, there's a minor league player by the name of Joan Baez somewhere in somebody's system. Yep.
Seriously?
Yeah. I saw that note somewhere the other day.
Oh. I did not know that.
He plays for the Hagerstown Suns.
Base hit left field. Hayward's got to stop. As that ball was hit so hard. Got to Upton in a flash.
Ball drifting well off the outside corner, but Rizzo, instead of trying to pull it, just flips it into left, off field, so Upton was playing a little tighter. No chance for Hayward to score even with 2 outs. Well, there's a chance, just not a real good one.
Caught the outer edge of the strike zone.
Good take. There we are in the 4th inning, and everybody in the Cubs lineup, except for John Lester, has reached base either a walk or a hit. 16 driven in the last 8.
Two and one. Cubs have 9 hits in this game. Make it 10. Hayward scores. Zobrist 3 for 3. 17 RBIs his last 8 games.
Two here tonight, just one behind Anthony Rizzo now for the club lead. As you'd expect, you'll find the Cubs dotted all over the top 10 of the leaderboards in so many categories.
Aaron Balsley out for the 2nd consecutive inning.
Yeah, probably just a pep talk there. Hey, man, hey, kid, keep your chin up. Keep battling for us.
Nice encore for Zobrist after Cole Player of the Week in the NL. Starting this week, 3 for 3. Baez takes high.
Seems like it's just a matter of time before someone hits one in the seats here for the Cubs tonight.
Shallow right. Here's Kemp. And that'll end the inning. Cubs get the run right back, 6-1 after 4.
carpenter, and you were a lady.
That's right, Bobby. The fifth inning is brought to you by Fifth Third Bank, the Curious Bank. Tim Hardin wrote that great song. In the hole, backhanded, and it gets away from Russell. Perella's aboard. It'll be a base hit.
That would have been fun to watch Russell make a play on this ball. He might have been able to throw him out. Looked like he caught the lip, took a bad hop on him. Yeah.
Ramirez walked in the third. That's something he does a ton. And he looks at a strike. Just to cap the story, we eventually did talk baseball with Joe, but after about 10 minutes of listening to different versions of that great song, which I thought was a nice icebreaker for the day.
Yeah, a little something going on other than the game when we meet with Joe. Comedy routine, some good tunes.
That'll get out into the alley, and it's going to roll for a bit. Fowler picks it up. Perella is in. RBI double. Alexei Ramirez at 6-2.
Padres making a little noise here at the bottom of their batting order. This ball middle down. A good approach by Ramirez, staying through the middle of the diamond with that swing.
Jabari Blash will hit for Vargas. Big cut and a miss.
A big strong guy. He's got power. He hasn't done much yet here in the big leagues, hitting just $130 from the Virgin Islands. It's a great name, isn't it?
What's going on?
Alexei got a little
Ramirez.
hamstring issue with Alexei out there, I think.
He cannot afford to lose another infielder. So while they tend to him, wild game going on in New York. Lorenzo Cain just hit his third homer of the night. The Royals have tied the Yankees at 7-7 in the eighth.
What inning are they in, did you say?
They're in the eighth. And Cain has homered twice off Tanaka and once off Andrew Miller.
Now the Royals trying to get back to 500. They're 15-16, 7 games behind the White Sox entering play tonight. The Yankees have obviously had their troubles too, dead last in the AL East at 12-18, and Ramirez is going to have to leave this ball game.
Chicago native Adam Rosales will run for him.
Didn't see much.
Nope. Blash checks his swing and pops it up on the infield. It's caught by Baez. So that's one out. And it'll bring up Jay.
Sounds like something you put in your kid's lunchbox. You know, give me some of that Jabari Blast for school today with my peanut butter sandwich.
Jay 0 for 1, hit by a pitch in the third.
Jay and Wallace, the two left-handed hitters in the lineup tonight for the Padres. Jay has handled left-handed pitching pretty well throughout his career. Good hit for power, line drive type hitter. Singles and doubles. He's up over 500 with runners in scoring position this year.
He had some good years with the Cardinals. Last year, though, he was plagued on a surgically repaired left wrist. Played in just 79 games. Padres got him in December in a trade for Jed Jerko. And he hits one well out into the gap, and that will get to the wall. And it'll be 6-3 as Rosales will score. Jay will hold it second. He's got a double. 3 hits, 2 runs here in the 5th for the Padres.
Well, Padres not rolling over. They got the solo home run from Upton last inning to get on the board. Now doing some damage here in the 5th. And you kind of sensed it a little bit early on when John wasn't getting the ground balls, that maybe he wasn't on top of his game. He was getting outs. But, you know, his best starts, he's getting a lot of ground ball outs, and he's getting more swings and misses than we're seeing here tonight.
To the mound.
Vespasio to the phone. So Trevor Cahill peeling off the jacket. I'm sure he would be available tonight.
Part of a group that dealt 8 scoreless innings on Sunday. He went 3. Warren went 2. Grimm went 2. Wood went 1 to get the win.
Yeah, you know, Cahill definitely would have been down last night had we played through 50-some pitches in that outing. So it may be a situation where he's capable of giving Joe an out or 2 here tonight.
The starter has gone at least 5 every game to start this season. That's Bryant in left, just in front of the dirt.
Wednesday, May 25th, Kerry Wood will bring the heat. Sign up and get a chance to swing for the fences, competing for the Battle of the Bats Home Run Championship here at Wrigley Field. It's your chance to step up to the plate for Chicago's kids and support the Wood Family Foundation and Cubs Charities. For details, visit CubsCharities.com.
In fact, Cubs starters have completed 5 innings in the last 38 regular season games. That goes back to September 27th. Of last year, second longest stretch for the Cubs since at least 1910. Only longer stretch, 41 straight games back in 26 and 27. And the only person who would know that information is Ed Harding. And because he knew it, now you all know it. That streak started game 1 of a doubleheader in 1926, September 15th, ended in game 2 of a doubleheader, May 21st of the following year. They used to play a lot of doubleheaders.
Yeah, the Charlie Root, Guy Bush era. Good pitch.
It's the John Lester special, bottom of the zone strike. Strike 3 called. Kemp doesn't like it. Padres get 2. And it's now 6-3.
Would you marry me anyway?
'76. Make that 1876. This Bud's for you.
Cast members from the Second City will lead the 7th inning stretch, brought to you by Budweiser. Not backing down since 1876. This Bud's for you.
But they got even tougher in 1976.
Adam Rosales stays in and plays short after running. For the injured Alexei Ramirez, here's Luis Perdomo.
Perdomo, boy, he's been hit hard. 10 2/3 innings. He's allowed 24 hits. 453 the batting average against an ERA approaching 11. He's got good stuff. He'll get 93, 94 with that heater. Slider, real good changeup, throws it hard. Here's the slide ball to start.
Russell taps foul. Perdomo turned 23 yesterday. And I think all his troubles seem so far away. It's low. It's 1-1. Yeah, those numbers you looked at, this is his first major league experience, so getting thrown into the deep end as Mr. Vargas was tonight after 3 really good starts.
Maybe a case of regression to the mean for Vargas. Also a case of running into a really good team. It's the nature of it. Sometimes it's not a matter of how you're throwing the ball. A lot of times it's the where and when and who you're up against.
Russell strikes out.
So that's pretty funky, that last pitch. 92, and I believe that's his changeup. I don't know if it's a split finger or some kind of a changeup. It's got very good downward action on it. And so is his fastball, as I said, 94, 95. See where it came out of his hand. It was some kind of a changeup grip, but gives you a sense of how good this kid's arm is.
Ross with a walk and a sac fly. Two and one. Yankees now lead the Royals 10-7 in the bottom of the 8th. Lorenzo Cain had tied it with his 3rd homer of the night. Go 1-3. 2 outs.
The Atlantas lose again. 3-2 to the Phillies in Atlanta. The Braves now 1-16 in their home ballpark. 7-24 overall.
Feels like they moved out of Turner Field a year early.
Pirates and the Reds postponed tonight. Cardinals play the Angels a little bit later on.
Pirates continue to have trouble with the Reds. 3-4 against them this year, after going 8-11 versus Cincinnati last year. Lester with a ground ball, diving stop, Rosales, and he got him. Cubs go down in order for the first time since the opening inning.
Join the Cubs season ticket holder waiting list. Do it today. Claim your spot in our lineup for season tickets. It's easy, free to register. For details, visit Cubs.com/waiting list.
Jon Lester continues leading 6-3. He's only given up 4 hits over the last 2 innings. 3 of those hits knocking in runs, getting a home run by Melvin Upton, who's on deck. Norris will start it. He's 0 for 2.
Yeah, I think we're at code orange here with John, because Trevor Cahill continues to throw in the Cubs bullpen, approaching 100 pitches.
I want to send out happy 92nd birthday wishes to Virginia Hamburg. Thanks to Marilyn Flores for the nice note. Watches us every night. David and Patty Colmadin, Madison, Wisconsin, big Cub fans. One and 2. Hard on the ground, but right to the shortstop. Russell fields it cleanly. And here's Upton Jr., who homered to left. 2 outs in the 4th for the Padres' first hit and run. Well, I should say the first hit, ... and run. It wasn't a hit and run. There's nobody on base.
2 separate events.
You know what's funny? That guy we just showed in the bleachers, I didn't know where he was sitting. I just looked up and I found him. It's pretty easy to find. And right now he's saying, aren't you going to let me sit? One and two.
Oh, now I'm locked in on him. Every shot we get, I can see him. You see him out there?
Yeah, it's like kid off to your left. Yeah. Yeah. Firing up the WGN chopper. Get our satellite in position. We'll just see how far out we can zoom and still find him.
Last one missed just a little bit down. That one just off the outside corner.
Got him. Man, that is 4 strikeouts all looking for Jon Lester.
Upton showing tremendous patience. The last 3 pitches all very close, and this final one catches the strike zone for strike 3. Well, according to our pitch tracks, Upton had a case.
Wallace 0 for 2, and he rolls one to Zobrist. He's now 0 for 3. So Lester with a nice 6th, leading by 3. Sitting. We're just going to see how far we can pan out and still see our buddy in the orange jacket. Still see him. There he is.
He will never be lost.
No. Fowler takes a strike. Kind of looks like an egg from space, but. One and one. Well, some add-on runs here. Will not be a terrible idea. Fowler now leading off an inning for the 4th time tonight, reaching the last 2 times up. Perdomo signed by the Cardinals 2010. Rockies took him in the Rule 5 in December and was purchased by the Padres, so essentially he's a Rule 5 guy. Dexter to hit it.
Those guys are ready.
There. Instead, he's going to walk again. Hey, check out the EMC Legends Suite located on the Nuveen Investment Suite level. Chance for your guests to enjoy gourmet food and beverages, pregame tour of Wrigley Field, and a visit from a former Cubs player during the game. For more information, visit Cubs.com/premier.
Well, once again, Hayward has that opportunity if he wants it to push a bunt down towards third base. Jason 1 out of 3 so far here tonight.
The count. Some heavier air kind of drifting into the ballpark. Some low clouds.
It's misting a little bit.
Yeah. You know what it feels like? The May gray or June gloom in San Diego.
Yeah, you're right.
Marine layer.
Norris, the catcher, been effective shutting down the running game this year. He's thrown out 36% of would-be Steelers. That's better than league average. League average at 32%, which is up a fair bit from what it normally is.
Gonzalez, a 6-3 double play. Well, he's made an impact on defense since entering the game. 2 outs for Bryant. Foul.
Well, his swing has looked so good for an extended period of time now. I mean, that bat is just flying through the zone.
Aroldis Chapman retired Lorenzo Cain to end the game. Yankees beat the Royals 10-7. Cain has shot at his 4th home run. Chapman gets his first save as a Yankee. just came off the suspended list. And that was his second appearance. Swing and a miss, inning over. Perdomo, 2 scoreless. It's 6-3 Cubs to the 7th. Yeah, Cubs trying to extend their streak to 8. Now you told Ethel to look in the open.
No, I said don't look, Ethel.
Oh, you said don't look.
Yeah.
Thought you were going the other way on that one. Well, it was a baseball graphic. It wasn't.
Ethel, look at that graphic. Cahill, we talked about his sturdy performance the other day. 3 scoreless for the year now. 2.92 ERA as he works for the 12th time. Good movement up and on the hands of Pirela there, but that's not Trevor's game plan. That's not what he's trying to do with that pitch. At times this year he's had a hard time getting that sinker down. Mr. Hand warming up for the Pods.
So Hand and Vargas both on the same pitching staff.
Eating some food, learning about Cuba.
No shoes, no shirt, no dice. Get amazing deals at the Honda Dream Garage sales event now at your Honda dealer. Our Honda game summary. Zobrist stays hot. Chris Bryant 2-run double. John Lester with a quality start tonight.
Pretty good looking pitch. It's been inside. I guarantee you somebody from that Cub dugout yelled, "That ball's not down."
Salas, product of Maine South High School in Park Ridge. That's foul. On to Western Michigan University.
He's bounced around, started with the Reds, moved on to the A's, the Rangers, and now Padre. Striking out a bunch this year, 28 strikeouts. He's at 58 at bats. It's almost 50%. Plays the game with a lot of energy.
3-2. All four.
See what I mean? He sprints when he walks. The best way to get to Wrigley Field is through public transportation. The Cubs do offer a free bike check, now located by the Addison Red Line station. If you drive, the Cubs provide free remote parking and shuttle service on night and weekend games. For information, visit the A to Z guide at Cubs.com.
Perdomo, the pitcher, fouls off. This is his first major league plate appearance.
Don't know if he was supposed to be bunting there or not, but Glenn Hoffman got his attention. Went very slowly through a signal of signs. A series of signs. Now he's bunting.
And he stabbed at it, so it's 0-2. The righty is Strop on the left. The lefty is Richard on the right. Ball, strike three. That has been a strikeout du jour, hasn't
I was
it?
just going to ask you, I wonder what the record is for the most amount of strikeouts in a game when they're all looking.
Well,
I wonder if we have anybody down in the truck that could figure that out for us. Somebody with some time on their hands.
5 and counting combined. And here comes the ex-Padre, Clayton Richard. Can.
So keep dancing. I can't stop the feeling. So just dance, dance, dance. So just dance, dance, dance. Go. Ooh, it's something magical. It's in the air, it's in my blood, it's rushing on. I don't need no reason, don't need control. I fly so high, no ceiling when I'm in my zone.
Stop the feeling, Justin Timberlake. Clayton Richard with 2 outs, a man on, facing John Jay. Here we go. Ground ball past a diving Baez, who was off the line. That will bring the tying run to the plate in Will Myers, and might be one pitch and done for Richard.
Yeah, it's going to be one pitch and done as Joe Madden makes his way out of the home dugout. It's kind of funny. It felt like a very comfortable lead, and all of a sudden it doesn't feel quite so comfortable as John Jay continues his good work against left-handed pitching.
Here comes Pedro Strop to face Will Myers. 2 on, 2 out, 7th inning.
Streaming sports service delivers everything you have come to expect and more. Watch every out-of-market game live in HD on over 400 supported devices. Includes a free subscription to @Bat Premium, the #1 app for live baseball. Blackout and other restrictions apply. Visit MLB.tv for details.
Strop against Myers. Rosales at second, Jay at first. Cubs lead 6-3. Bounce to third. Baez can't handle it. Bases loaded. An error on Baez. Well, that is weird to see.
Yeah, he kind of awkwardly approached that ball. Had his glove kind of in a funky fashion. First error of the year committed by Baez. Kind of went top down after that ball with the glove instead of turning it the other way. Wow. So
Matt Kemp with the bases loaded. Slider strike.
Yeah, he's got to be careful here. He likes to do that little quick pitch move, and obviously you can't do that with a man on base. They're going to call a balk on you.
Hit well the other way, but Hayward will make the catch. Timeout for the 7th inning stretch, brought to you by Budweiser.
Tonight's guest conductors for Take Me Out to the Ball Game, cast members of the Second City.
All right, Cubs fans, let me
to have members from Second City cast down to see a show lately?
I've never been to see a show.
You gotta do it.
I know.
Gotta do it.
I know.
A red line runs through it is the current show on the main stage. Luis Perdomo doing his best to keep the Padres in this game. And a scary moment in the 7th as Matt Kemp had a line shot to right, but it was caught by Hayward. That foul by Anthony. Outside. 3-1.
2 hitless innings for Perdomo so far. He allowed a walk, but that was quickly erased on the double play ball. Vargas in 4 innings allowed 10 hits, 6 runs, and a lot of the outs were sharply hit off of the young right-hander Vargas.
Second time Anthony's reached. Zobrist, 3 at-bats, 3 singles, 2 RBIs, 2 runs. Alexei Ramirez had left hamstring cramping. And with 2 games tomorrow, interesting to see what they do. They will have an extra man to put on the roster. Most teams add a pitcher, however. When we started our conversation about a tourniquet, a relief pitcher going 3 innings with his team down, being effective.
It started something, have we?
Well, I don't know, because I feel like we've seen a lot of those lately. Zobrist 4 for 4. Two on, nobody out. As to replay Cam. Is he locked in?
Oh my goodness.
Say yes.
You know, the whole deal about the hardest thing to do in sports, hit a round object with a round barrel. Not so much for Zobrist these days. He's making it look easy.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of relievers work multiple innings with their teams trailing. Perdomo tonight getting his first major league plate appearance as a result. Wallace in at third, and Baez looks at a strike.
One single and a double so far for Javi tonight.
Justin Grimm up in the Cubs bullpen. Don't often see with a lead Pedro Strop pitch ahead of Justin Grimm. He came on to get the final out of the 7th.
Yeah, and I expect Strop to pitch the 8th, but if his spot in the batting order comes up here and there's a chance to do some damage, Joe may decide to hit for him.
That's to first. Myers decided not to throw to second. Was the middle infield a little late getting over there?
Maybe he just didn't have an angle. Didn't feel comfortable trying to make that throw as Obrist got closer to the base. He spins, looks. Gonzalez was there or was on his way there, but I just feel like he probably didn't like the look of it.
So Padres will have to play infield in against Russell. Second and third, one out. The pitch inside. Right field, is it going to stay fair? You bet it will. 2 will score. Rizzo and Zobrist. Russell the third. He'll stand with a triple. Cubs double play combo combining for 6 hits and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 RBIs.
A second extra base hit for Russell tonight. Double first time up. He's making good use of that right field corner here lately. Boy, look at that swing. That's pretty.
David Ross out in front. And fouls it. Infield still in an 8-3 ball game.
Time and time again, we see this Cubs lineup gaining separation in the late innings. The team makes a little bit of a charge, tightens things up a little bit. Perdomo just lost his tourniquet.
Yes, he has. The Cubs offense, they've enjoyed ruining save chances for Hector Rondon. A BT blown tourniquet. Oh, man. Cubs just keep scoring runs. At least 8.
Yeah, and
3 of their last 4.
Nothing going on in the Padre bullpen. And I think with the doubleheader tomorrow, Andy Green just being very cautious with his resources here, even as he got closer. 6-3 game, late innings. I don't think he felt like he had a great chance. Didn't have anybody warming.
Strikes out. Tommy LaStella. Pinch hits for Strop.
That's the other thing about playing add-on here. You can get Strop out of the game, keep him fresh for the doubleheader tomorrow.
Cubs very well could add a pitcher tomorrow. Could have a 9-man bullpen.
I expect that to be the case. I think Joe just would prefer to have, you know, just in case you have a crazy game, the starter goes out early, or play a bunch of extra innings in that first game.
Wasn't that long ago, and you had a 10-man pitching staff.
Yeah. Well, I was looking on Baseball Reference today. The average major league team last year, used 27 pitchers over the course of the season.
In the air down the left field line, Upton in foul territory right in front of the bullpen mound makes the catch. Cubs add to their lead. It's 8-3. Might be in the early lead for player of the week this week. He's 4 for 4. Here's Justin Grimm.
No wins, no losses, a 3.18 earned run average for Justin. He worked 2 innings in the ballgame on Sunday, allowed a hit, no runs, walked a couple. Through 31 pitches, he worked 3 times in that 4-game set against the Nationals. He worked Thursday and Friday, but briefly in each of those games, threw 5 pitches on Thursday, 8 pitches on Friday. Spazio will check with all his pitchers. He'll talk to all his relievers on a daily basis, monitor how they're feeling, and then he'll check in with Joe and let him know who's available and who needs a day.
Pitch to Norris. There's a strike. Ryan Zimmerman hit 2 homers tonight, but not enough. Tigers beat the Nationals 5-4. Red Sox clubbed the A's 13-5. Hanley Ramirez hit a home run 460 feet. Brewers blew out the Marlins 10-2 in Miami. Remember Adam Conley?
Yeah.
Taking out the no-hitter against the Brewers in Milwaukee. Well, the rematch, he went 4 innings, gave up 7 hits, 4 runs, and took the loss. White Sox Rangers are 5-5 in the fourth. Had some rain earlier. Orioles and Twins 3-3 in the ninth in Minneapolis. Minnesota's 8-23, 14 games behind the White Sox. Three and two. Indians shut out the Astros behind Trevor Bauer 4-0. Phillies are 5 over, 3-2 at Atlanta. I mentioned Braves 1-16 at home. Norris walks. Well, we haven't seen the Phillies yet, but might they add if they're still hanging around mid-season?
No.
Are they going to stay on track?
Yeah, I think. I mean, they
go with what they've got.
Got that good young pitching, and they've got a couple good young everyday players in the lineup. I don't know what they have down on the farm.
Ooh, nice effort by Russell. Just couldn't get it. So Upton Jr.'s got 2 hits, and they have 2 on with nobody out, and that's why you love to tack on. Give yourself a cushion. Padres had nothing going early, but put up 3 over 2 innings in the middle of this game, and then threatened big time in the 7th before Strop eventually got out of it.
Maybe one more base runner away from Hector Rondon getting up. Wallace has grounded out to second base the last 2 times up, and he does that a lot. He's a ground ball guy, pull hitter, hits the ball on the ground to the right side a lot.
Curve strike to Wallace. Bit of a renaissance here with the Padres. Put up an .874 OPS in 87 games these last 2 years going into tonight. After not playing in the majors in 2014, he was never able to gain a foothold in Houston, and they gave him opportunities.
Yeah, he was there when I was still there, and you know, he looked like you know, a blossoming major league power hitter. Quick bat, strong as an ox. Had some mechanical issues with his swing, and you know, had a hard time driving the ball. He'd be one of those guys you watch him in BP and you say, oh my goodness, you know, he's one of those, the ball just has a different sound coming off his bat. It, you know, it didn't translate into the game. Former #1 pick, tremendous credentials coming out of college. Great numbers as a minor league hitter.
A walk and a single to start this 8th inning.
Curveball's a good ground ball pitch for Grimm. It's also a good strikeout pitch.
And Wallace fans, one down.
Well, there goes the streak of strikeouts looking. Devastating, sharp, downward breaking curveball from Grimm. 7 strikeouts. First one swinging by the Padres tonight.
Pirela, 1 for 3 with a run. Foggy night, at least since about 9 o'clock. Two and 0. Ground ball, right field, base hit. They're loaded for Rosales.
Joe checking with Lester Strode to see whether Adam Warren is ready. Apparently got the thumbs up and he's going to make the move.
So trouble here in the 8th. Cubs lead by 5. We'll be back. And Kyle Hendricks in the opener. Left-hander Drew Pomerantz, righty John Lackey in the nightcap. Split admission doubleheader.
Hendricks maybe with his best performance as a big leaguer in San Diego last year. And here comes Adam Warren now. Trots out there with a 3-0 record and a 1.35 ERA. 13 in the 3rd innings. He's allowed 6 hits, 7 walks, struck out 12. He worked 2 innings on Sunday, allowed a couple of hits, but no runs.
That's Derek Norris at first. Melvin Upton Jr. at second. Jose Pirela is the runner at first. Gives a double play depth. And a strike call.
Got a 5-run lead here, so you want to make sure you don't make any mistakes. Middle end, sliders away. That was middle-ish. He was a little tardy. One's got a lot of weapons. Fastball, curve, slider, and change. Has good command. I'll be hoping to get him to roll over on a breaking ball away here. This one intense guy.
Swing and a miss. 2 gone.
Changeup. It's so rare to have a guy come out of the bullpen and be able to execute all these various pitches. Most relievers, certainly, late inning short relievers, rely heavily on one pitch and then have a secondary pitch that they'll go to. Warren with that starting pitcher's pedigree has a starting pitcher's mix.
Here's Alex Dickerson. Just his 14th career plate appearance. And a strike catches the outside. Acquired prior to 2014 from the Pirates after being a 3rd-round pick. 2011 out of Indiana University. Oh, and 2.
Perhaps showed a young Kyle Schwarber the ropes.
Yeah, I was wondering that. I don't know if he was there yet. Speaking of Kyle. And a fly ball to deep right. And it is a grand slam. And this is a 1-run game. That is his first major league home run. He didn't have an RBI in the big leagues prior to that big swat. 8-7.
Wow, what a moment for that young man. And boy, has this game ever changed. No balls, 2 strikes. Trying to throw him a backdoor slider, catches a little too much of the plate, but a flick of the wrist by Dickerson. And we've got a 1-run ball game.
3 of those runs will be charged to Grimm. Big do those 2 runs off the bat of Russell look now in the 7th. Two and 0 on Jay. And now Warren will settle down and get back into this thing here. 1-run game is 3-0.
A little unnerved. Nothing going on in the Cubs bullpen right now.
Three and 1. Zobrist to Rizzo to end the inning. 4 come in on the grand slam by Dickerson. It's now 8-7. Mattress Firm, grade 8 stat of the game. Ben Zobrist, including tonight, 448 his last 8 games with 17 RBIs. It's brought to you by Mattress Firm, where we want you to sleep happy, guaranteed. Remember, if it's over 8, it's time to replace.
Well, he may get another chance here in the bottom of the 8th.
Fowler leading off an inning again. Every time he's batted, he has let off a frame and has reached 3 more times. The 12th time he's been on base at least 3 times in a game. All-Star game is in San Diego this summer, and Dexter would love to be there with several of his Cubs teammates. And there's a very good chance that'll happen. 2-1. There's the closer.
Bryce Harper was the player of the month in April for the National League, but Fowler had to be just behind him. Rondon wouldn't mind a little breathing room as he takes the mound in the top of the inning. And with 2 strikes, the Padres shift. Wallace, who had been in, moves over to the right side, and Rosales moves back to the shortstop position.
Online voting available for the All-Star game, and I think Rizzo, Bryant, really the whole Cubs infield, Zobrist, Russell, Fowler, will get a ton of votes. Jason Hayward, even though he's off to a slow start, being a Cub and his career reputation, will get a lot of votes. 3-2 to Fowler out front. We'll try it again. Wonder if Terry Collins might ask his buddy Joe Madden to be on the All-Star staff. Fowler's out.
Saw a lot of pitches, and ultimately Quackenbush made a pitch. The bottom of the knees on the outside corner. He's not a real hard thrower. You see 90 to 92. Got a good curveball.
One 1-0 on Hayward, still looking for his first home run as a Cub. Could that be the one? No. Hit well, but caught by Jay. 2 outs. And it's Bryant. 2-3-4 for the Padres in the 9th. Myers, Kemp, and Norris against Hector Rondon. Vargas went 4, Perdomo 3, and now Quackenbush here in the 8th. Lester Cahill, Richard Strop, Grimm, Warren, and likely Rondon for the Cubs. Ground ball past Quackenbush. Pirela throws him out. He was on the other side of second base and made the play. Here comes the 9th, 8-7 Cubs. Rays 7. And here's the closer, Hector Rondon. He's
been
the save.
He has been brilliant. 6 out of 6 so far. He's converted 17 consecutive saves going back to last year.
Will Myers, ball 1.
And normally, he throws strike one. He's done it a high percentage of the time. He's been very aggressive, very efficient.
Foul. Ross kicked it into fair territory. One and one.
Rondon getting better and better. He's not walked a man yet this year.
Really been fun to watch his development, going from a Rule 5 pick, coming off arm surgery, 1 and 2. One of the better closers in the league.
They missed a spot that time, but he got away with it because it was 95 and riding up and in on Myers.
Called strike 3. 97 and painted.
Adjustment made right there. Nice job. Got away with one up and in, then goes back downstairs, bottom of the knees, and here's that improvement we talked about. I mean, it's not like he wasn't good in 2014, and he was really good last year, but even better this year with an 0.79 ERA and better than 14 strikeouts per 9 innings. If you're a rate stat guy, that's a little over 47% of the batters he has faced he has struck out.
Yikes.
And he has not walked a single man.
Kemp 0 for 4. He's lined out to the outfield twice in his 4 tries. The wind in the 0-1 is line foul to right. 0-2. Paid crowd 34,680. And Hector's 0-2. Slider in the dirt. You mentioned Kemp. Vulnerable to chase, especially now with 2 strikes. Norris on deck.
So you're thinking either, you know, slider down and away or try to paint down there or go way up with a heater.
Two and 2. Cubs trying to grab their 25th win in just their 31st game. Swing and a miss. 2 down.
Orange man is loving it. Couldn't get him to chase that slider off the plate, so he throws it on the plate, but down below the knees. "20 strikeouts, no walks."
Derek Norris with 2 outs. Strike 1.
Seven, just off the edge.
Sharply hit on the ground. Russell's got it. Cubs win. Cubs win 8 in a row now as they hang on and beat the Pods 8-7.
A little wobbly at the end, but ultimately Rondon comes in and slams the door. Man, has he been good. John Lester picks up the win, his 4th. Big night for Zobrist, Russell, Baez.
Yeah, no drama, Hector. And tough part of the order, too. Nobody reached. Cubs now look for their 9th in a row and maybe 10th in a row tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking no drama, Hector. It's amazing. Almost every inning he's pitched this year has been clean. And at his game by game here, he's thrown more than 15 pitches in an outing just twice. So this is a guy who has come into his own full of confidence and dominating.
We'll be back to Wrigley Field in a moment. Final score, Cubs 8, Padres 7.